Hello chess friends and welcome to your side of chess channel and welcome to a spectacular gameplay by Stockfish 16 against another top engine Stormphrax in the amazing Goglidze attack against the Neo-Grunfeld defense. We haven't covered for a while, I think now, a Neo-Grunfeld defense here on my YouTube chess channel. I used many times this Goglidze attack against these types of setups, so I was very happy to see Stockfish again playing one of my favorite openings against the Grunfeld stuff. So if you are also bothered like me to play against the Grunfeld defense, I think this is a perfect game for you with, again, incredible strategic elements, but also with impossible tactical shots in the middle game stage. So let's dive now into the game with the white pieces. The fish open with the move d4, knight to f6 by Stormphrax, c4, g6, now after move f3. It's sort of an anti-Grunfeld system here that white is playing, because this move d5 that usually Grunfeld defense player is playing is actually not so dangerous like in the common Grunfeld stuff, because after c takes d5, knight to d5, you get an extra tempo with the move e4, and we have reached now this position of the Goglidze attack against the Neo-Grunfeld defense. Knight to b6, knight to c3, bishop to g7, and now bishop to e3. The strategic goal of this setup is, of course, to play queen to d2. Then, like in, I don't know if you're familiar maybe with the Yugoslav attack or against this common 150 attacks against the fianchetto, when black is playing the fianchetto here with g6 and bishop to g7, is of course then to trade off the darko bishops, put more pressure here with g4, h4, h5, and then build a queen and rook battery, maybe in some lines, if possible, even deliver checkmate on the h-file when black is calcing. We have now calcing by Stormphrax. Now comes this idea, this progressive plan, g4, h4, and similar stuff. Knight to c6, hitting the pawn on d4 now many times, so that's why queenside calcing. Pretty forced move here for Stockfish. We have now the move e5, breaking in the center, d5. Stockfish is passing through, and now knight to d4. If you take, of course, here, then the issue is you have lost tempo. You have to play something like this. Black will break with c5, can also expand here on this side of the board. So Stockfish, after move knight to d4, keeps it calm, says, okay, your knight is protected by the pawn, so that's why I'll try to deflect the pawn with the move f4 here. We have now the move c5, so black is building this powerful control of the knight on d4, and Stockfish simply takes. F takes e5, we have now bishop to g4. A very often played intermediate attack by black, has been played many times. When I watch now in the database, Topalov against Mamedyarov in a game has been reached this position, ended with a draw. Evgeny Postny against Grigor Sevag Mekhtarian, white won the game. We have here Chanda Sandipan against Darwin Leela, black won the game. So I think a very complex middle game to play, with good chances also for black to make something in this position. Stockfish goes with rook to e1. Knight from g to e2 wouldn't be so good here, although you're competing against the knight, you're covering also the rook for a while. Knight to c4 is then a dangerous move, and black should be much better here. Black will get rid of your powerful bishop on e3, and strategically I would dare even to say white is lost here. So that's why rook to e1 must move for white. We have bishop to e5, and now Stockfish plays h3. Now comes a beautiful counterattack by Stormphrax, which is not allowing h takes g4 to happen immediately. The queen is, of course, indirectly hitting the rook. Stockfish continues now with bishop to d3, and now we have a rook from a to c8. If you play here c4 now to maybe attack the bishop, seemed tempting to me. Then you have this one. Then you can actually play h takes g4. This wasn't playing in the game, but I wanted to show you how dangerous also the position can become for black, because black will have to, I think, have to start now to retreat with the queens. With the queen here, queen to h4 is pretty forced, because there is a threat of bishop to d4, and then queen to d4. So that's why queen to h4, but then rook to d1. And the issue is here, after move c4, that black could play. You see, black doesn't have a good score with the knight. All of the squares are taken. Knight to b5, knight to f5, these squares are taken, this square is taken. So there's nothing that can be done in the next move. The knight will be lost for sure. So that's why after bishop to d3, you see c4 is not a good continuation here for black. Then the knight on d4 gets loose here. So that's why rook to c8, rook to f1. We have now to move f5. Great move again also by Stormphrax, building now also an attack here on the king side, but now Stockfish plays a beautiful h takes g4. Goes simply for the attack, sacrifices now the exchange, sacrifices now the rook for the knight. Really, really wild stuff. So this position has been actually reached in one game, Michał Skalski against the Jerzy Ovjarzak, in which actually black won the game. So we're seeing now a line in which white never won the game. But the fish is of course a different beast. Allowed here, of course, queen takes h1 and now knight to h3. The queen is under fire. Queen to h2 must move here for black. And you see, although black is up the exchange, the activity of black's pieces is not so good. The queen is endangered. The knight on d4 still, I would say, although it's well protected, it's still a little bit loose, because you would love to make progress on the queen side with potential moves like c4 that we have seen previously, but it's not working. So here, with the move f5 that Stormphrax played, seemed like an aggressive choice, but now after a couple more moves, I think the defense in front of black's king could be undermined, especially when we trade off more especially when we trade off more pawns. Maybe the g file could be open. So very unpleasant position, I think, here for black for sure. So after queen to h2, g takes f5 here by the fish. What should you do? If you continue here with g takes f5, you see now why there is a huge problem about the queen. Still, the queen is endangered on h2, although you get out of the first rank, because after e takes f5, you're trying maybe to escape also from some g-file attacks. Then actually white can play even a calm game with the move king to b1. This again wasn't playing the game, but I think g takes f5 was a critical moment of the game. I asked myself the question at home, why black didn't take out this pawn, why black didn't try to split somehow this powerful pawns of white in the center of the board. Then, as we said, e takes f5, you're trying something like this, king to b1, and then after knight to d7, the problem is now finally we attack the queen. We play knight to g5, we're trying to go here on e6, then you try maybe knight to f6, then also this knight is coming. So suddenly, as I said, the queen becomes an object of the attack, and there's nothing that can be done. For instance, bishop to d4, knight to e6. When the knight gets cemented on this powerful square in e6, this octopus knight will become simply the best minor piece on the board, even the best piece, I would say, here on the board for sure. So as I said, g takes f5 is not so dangerous, because still the issues after potential e takes f5 and knight to g5, knight to e6, the position could be cemented around the square e6. So that's why here after g takes f5, again Stormphrax is desperately trying now to improve the position of the queen. Stockfish continues with bishop to f4. Interesting idea to simplify the game, but again going simply for the e6 weakness here. So if you play now g takes f5, now this pawn is not protected twice, because the knight is of course standing in the way of the rook. But then actually the cool part is that black can even white can even go with the move e5, and this is also a dangerous position that black I think would not love to face. Two connected passers rolling in the center of the board, supported by the knight, and I think the rooks will not have fun here meeting this pawn storm in the center of the board. So that's why also in this position I've analyzed at home, g takes f5 is also not working because of the potential e5 move. So very unpleasant, as I said, position to handle for black. In the game knight to d7, here Stormphrax is trying of course to reroute the knight on a better square, controlling also the potential e5 move that we have seen was very dangerous for black. But now again, a beautiful move by Stockfish, king to b1. Here Stockfish is saying, I have a great position, I can play even the calm game, I don't have to even rush anything here. In the game rook to e8 was played now by Stormphrax, and now finally this idea, knight to e6, cementing the knight on such a powerful square. Rook to f7, a3, creating even some breathing spaces for the king. You see, in any move, Stockfish is not rushing here. Stockfish notices that it has such a powerful position in the center of the board. a6, trying of course to make progress with b5, and now rook to h1. Now Stockfish is saying your position in front of the king is too weakened. There are simply too many attacking ideas here for white, especially the files could be open. And again, even if you try now, maybe g takes f5, again e takes f5, knight to f5 is not working because of rook to h5, attacking now the knight, and when you retreat, then rook to g5, for instance, is also a threat. So never, but really never, you can play this move g takes f5, because it gets very dangerous here, especially for the queen on g3. After rook to h1, b5 by Stormphrax, Stockfish continues with an attack against the queen, queen to e5, and now g4. putting more pressure. The pawns are rolling, the knight is cemented. Now the f5 is even strengthened further by the g4 pawn. So great strategic play so far by Stockfish. Rook to e7, queen to f2, we have g takes f5, and now we have again g takes f5, again simply supporting here the knight on e6. We have now king to h8. Stormphrax escapes now from the potential g-file attack, but now come queen to h4, b4, breaking through here by Stormphrax, but no worries here for Stockfish. Stockfish still has this great square for the knight on a4, a5 here by Stormphrax, and now queen to g3. Brave but also great decision here by Stockfish, saying okay, I can even go now into the fully endgame stage. Maybe I don't have some checkmate threat here, because we have to say Stormphrax defended the position is so far in a solid way, but Stockfish simply relies on this powerful, look at this beautiful triangle of pawns supporting this amazing knight on e6. Queen takes g3 by Stormphrax. Stormphrax is saying okay, I could maybe I would love here to simplify the game. Knight takes e6, but you see, even after a trades of knight, the position gets more and more simplified, but in white's favor. These three pawns are now connected, they are rolling in the center of the board, the knight gets attacked, still there is a great support of the bishop, this knight is flexible to get into the attack, rook is very active, very messy position here for black. Knight to e5, we have now king to c2, good move by Stockfish, simply including now also the king into the attack, rook to g8, and now rook to h3. We have now rook to f8, Stockfish gets the king closer, knight to f3, a tiny little check, but no worries, of course, again by Stockfish. King to e3 is again a good move here for white. Knight to g5, rook to h5, knight takes e6. Here Stormphrax had enough of it, had enough of this nice fixed position around the square e6. Really frustrating. If this would be a human game, if I would play this game with the black pieces and would have to really face this amazing positional setup, I would be very frustrated. There's simply no good move here for black. After knight takes e6, d takes e6, rook to e6. Okay, we have reached now a position in which black has the rook and the pawn for two minor pieces. But again, the issue is that white pieces are pretty active here. Stockfish continues with rook to a5, grabs now the pawn. We have b3, knight, rook to h5, king to g7, and now you see it's not one of those positions in which you struggle somehow to get your pieces somehow into the game. Knight to c5, good move here by Stockfish, rook to h6, and now rook to g5, king to h8, and now bishop to c4. Another good move, which of course is not allowing this rook to move, because you could get also checkmated on the 8th rank. Rook to h2, Stockfish protects now the pawn. Very important stuff. Rook to h3, and now king to d4, even improving the position of the king. The pawn, the knight, and the bishop are shielding now white's king. Even if you try to deliver some checks with rook to d8, still you can cover, so not a good position for sure here for black. H6, we have rook to g2, now comes this to check, and now of course bishop to d5. Rook to f3, Stockfish goes for the pawn. Stormphrax has to protect it again. Now finally knight to e5 with some threats of knight to f7. That's why rook to e8, we have rook to g2. Stockfish is again not rushing, has this solid setup here in the center of the board. The king is pretty solid here on d4, king to h7, and now knight to d7 again with the fork idea on f6. Rook to d8, knight to f6 anyway, rook to h8, and now king to e5. And the problem is, again, wherever you go with the rook, even if you leave it somehow here on the second rank, on the 7th rank, then there is again a checkmate threat here even on g8. So slowly but surely Stockfish is building a mating net, builds very powerful position with these three pieces. Rook to h1, Stockfish improves further the king, very wild stuff. Rook to e1, and now after rook to g6 in this particular position Stormphrax resigns. So obviously this position has to be studied further. Probably many of you are asking the question, what's really now going on the board? Why did Stormphrax resign? The issue is, for instance, you're trying to defend now this pawn. The pawn cannot be protected with the move king to h7. You're trying to protect the pawn. Then the issue is the king gets even closer, and now the main strategic goal is to do something like this. bishop to c6, rook to c8, and now you're trying to play bishop to bishop to e8, cutting off the rook's defense of the 8th rank, and there's simply no good defense anymore against rook to g8 checkmate. So very, very crazy position. So you can just prolong the game by maybe sacrificing here the rook, but we can agree this is simply game over here for black. A great attack, great Goglidze attack by Stockfish 16 against the Grünfeld defense. Very interesting stuff, sacrificing the exchange but just in order to fix the position around the square e6, and we saw from that square Stockfish managed to get through, got also the king very active, also very, I think, instructive chess endgame that we have seen here by Stockfish. In my opinion, incredible performance again by the strongest chess engine in the world. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the Goglidze attack. If you want to see some other beautiful sharp attacking but also beautiful positional chess games, check out our Come to Chess Games Play by Computer series, where we analyze some beautiful AI chess games. And if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.